Hey you! Welcome to my channel, A Year and a Day. My name is Jenny and these are my favorites from the months of August and September 2024. Before we get into things, let me just say hi to everybody who has watched my channel before and welcome to those who are new here. I try to think of a way to quickly summarize what it is exactly that I do here on YouTube, but I didn't get any further than on my channel. I just share what I love whenever I like. And what it is that I love, it changes and depends on my mood and the seasons. But it's always kind of in the realm of journaling, stationery, fountain pens, mental health, personal growth, books, tarot and oracle decks, and my love of nature. So if those are things that you like as well, feel free to stick around or connect with me here on YouTube or on Instagram. And with all of that said, let's dive into my favorite things from the months of August and September. And when I was thinking about memories from these past 2 months, I realized that up until now, my whole year of 2024 has kind of been revolving around my adventure in the German Schwarzwald. First it was before Schwarzwald, and then it was during Schwarzwald, and now it is after Schwarzwald. And to very quickly recap, basically at the start of 2024 I decided I wanted to spend a longer period of time in nature this year. And I ended up spending 6 weeks in the German Black Forest. I had some time off at the start and end of that period of time, together with my husband, where we just enjoyed the beautiful surroundings there. But there were 4 months in the middle where I was by myself and working from that location. Before Schwarzwald, it was very exciting but also a bit scary to do such a thing by myself mostly. During Schwarzwald, I had the best of times. It was such a beautiful experience living so closely to nature, and I felt super inspired. It was basically like going on this month-long artist retreat with myself, where I was inspired and creative every single day. And then there was after Schwarzwald. I shared a bit about this in my July update, because it was kind of a harsh landing returning home again. Don't get me wrong, I have so much to be grateful for here in my home. But the country around me is crowded and nature is not at all like it was in Schwarzwald. There's always noises and people everywhere, and it was such a big contrast with what I had just experienced life could be. And where my July was filled with action, where I was really motivated to keep moving, to keep making small changes in my life and surroundings, to keep that inspiration I had felt in Schwarzwald going. August was about slowing down, and not necessarily in a good way. Again, don't get me wrong, I had a lovely month of August. The weather was absolutely lovely and there was a lot of time to just relax in my garden and crochet and read. But there was also a sense of disappointment and failing, because I wasn't able to hold on to that inspiration and sense of movement that I had felt in Schwarzwald. It was slowly slipping away from me and I was getting back into my old ways. And looking back on it, I think I expect myself to make the best of it. I expect myself to hold on to that inspiration and creativity. I expect myself to shift focus on what is and not what isn't. And up to a certain extent, that is a good expectation to have. It is about training my brain to let go of negative ways of thinking. At the same time, there is only so much you can will to life. And there comes a time where I should face some truths. That time has not yet come. I am not ready yet by far to draw any conclusions, for example, about where I live or how much I want to change that. I'm still trying to make up my mind what fits me best and growing towards that. But all in all, August left me with a slight sense of disappointment. And then September came around and everything started moving. And some things even started moving a lot faster than I had expected. So just at the moment when some unexpected things were happening at my day job, my holiday started. Which was not the best of combinations, because it was kind of a struggle to let go of my day job and fully immerse in my holiday. Now, even though our holiday was supposed to be kind of a staycation, where we would invest some time and effort into our home and some chores that we needed to do, we also decided that it wouldn't be a true holiday without us venturing into nature. So we made the last minute decision to pack our stuff and drive to Luxembourg. Now, actually, we were staying on the border of Germany and Luxembourg, but that way we were able to do some hikes in both countries. It was so lovely being out and about again. And the area also happened to be a very beautiful area covered with huge rock formations and caves. So we had a lot of fun exploring those. And that's kind of where I find myself now. I am filming this actually a little earlier in September because it usually takes me a long time to edit my videos. And I felt for August and September I wanted to be kind of on time with posting this one. So hopefully you are seeing this somewhere near the end of September. Now that means I still am enjoying my holiday at the moment, and I'm also trying to make enough time for fun creative projects and some relaxing. This is always such a magical time in the year where you still have that abundance and warmth of summer, but the first signs of autumn are also showing themselves. And I always face it with mixed emotions. My first thoughts are about everything that I will miss about summer. But then I realize there's also so much to enjoy in autumn. And I start looking forward to sweater weather and warm blankets and candlelight. But for now, let's focus on August and September, and let me show some things that I was up to these past few months. Crochet was my first crafty love, and I've been crocheting for, I don't know, about 14 years now. It's something that I really love to do. I started creating sweaters last fall and winter, and I would love to do that again this winter. But one of my favorite projects is creating blankets, because it's often a repeating pattern that you can just fall back on while you are watching a YouTube video or listening to a podcast. And I really love that multitasking part of it. For me, it's very difficult to just do one thing. I love combining two things. So, listening to stories or interviews or stuff that I love while also working with my hands and creating something. So this is a little baby blanket that I created for friends of ours. But even though I completely finished this one, last minute I decided to go with a different color scheme. And that was this one in yellow. Now I've since completed that baby blanket and already gifted it to our friends. But I love the combination so much myself that I decided to start working on a blanket for myself. So this one is quite large. I think it's 140 centimeters wide. And of course the length I will decide on the go. But this is a lovely crochet project that I will be able to fall back on this autumn and winter when I just want to crochet something simple, something that just flows out of my hands without having to count or do something complicated with a pattern, when I just want to clear my head and listen to something interesting and work on something. So that is my current crochet project. Now let's move on to journaling. Journaling has been a huge part of my life for a long time. But when I knew I was going to Schwarzwald, journaling and stationery really became my main focus. And I spent a lot of time deciding what to bring and kind of gathering some new supplies. And I had kind of expected for my focus to shift after Schwarzwald. Maybe I would start crocheting even more, or, taking out my sewing machine again. But my stationery obsession continued. I will link down below a few of my recent random ramblings where I am sharing some of my supplies. And also a video where I'm sharing my fountain pens. So my August and September really focused on journaling and fountain pens. Let me share some of the things that changed or were added to my collection. First of all, let's take a look at my journaling system. I have gone through a lot of different journals over the years. But these past few years, I really found a system that worked for me. I started using these Moleskine dotted journals, and they are pretty simple. I really loved the size of these. They are 19 by 25 centimeters. And this proved to be a perfect size for my journaling style. Ever since I discovered tarot and oracle, I have really incorporated those within my journaling practice, and it has given my journaling so much structure and clarity. I also really like the fact that these notebooks are so simple and the paper is not even that good, especially not for fountain pens. But that actually helped me in not taking these notebooks too seriously or being very protective about them or being super precious about them. And it really allowed me to shift my focus to the actual work that I'm trying to do within these notebooks. And this is the Traveler's Journal cover that I ordered from Galen Leather. That perfectly fits the Moleskine notebooks. This cover can easily hold 4 of these notebooks, although these are both full, so they are quite chunky. And I still need to kind of decorate the covers. That's something that I love to do when I have finished one of these notebooks, is to add the months that are contained within the notebook and just add some prints or stickers to kind of captivate that chapter of my life. And I still need to do that for these two. But other than that, it's a pretty low-key journaling system I had going on for the past few years. And that works very well for me, and I do not want to change that. I did realize that writing with fountain pens in these notebooks is not really a joy. And maybe it's time to look for an alternative notebook that is also pretty plain and simple but has better quality paper. And I ended up with this one. As you can see, still it is quite a plain notebook, but it does have page numbers and it's a little bit thicker, and the cover is not truly a hardcover, but not truly a soft cover as well. It's kind of this sturdy cardboard kind of cover. However, this is Clairefontaine, so this is fountain pen friendly paper. And of course I couldn't help already doing some testing, and where I always had a lot of bleed through on the moleskin paper, as you can see, this one is really a lot more fountain pen friendly with not really any bleeding at all. So this means that when I start journaling in this notebook, that I can have more freedom with the pens that I will be using. Now this one actually also fits the Galen leather cover, although this is of course not really a notebook that is meant to go into a traveler's journal. So I'm not quite sure yet how that Galen leather cover fits into my practice for the future. I might keep it to hold my last 3 filled in moleskin notebooks. I also might just put it on this one and have it be the cover of my new journal. At the same time, this journal doesn't really need an extra cover or anything. It's quite sturdy as it is, so I can just use it like this. For now, I am still writing in my current moleskin notebook. I am almost done with that one, and then I will start this one probably in October. Let's get back to those fountain pens. I have been writing with fountain pens for my entire life, basically, but my collection of pens that I built over the years was pretty plain and basic. It was very practical and low-key. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I was very happy with my collection of fountain pens. Over these past few years, I added a few to my collection, and it was lovely having those around to write with. But I very consciously didn't get into the true fountain pen rabbit hole, because I knew for some reason that once I would jump into that rabbit hole, I would want all the pens. And I know with my ADHD I can also get super obsessed by things that I love. And that's something challenging as well, to find a good balance between having fun with that and enjoying that, but also staying grounded and sensible. I might even do a next random ramblings, chatting a bit about those obsessions and the challenges that I face with them and the way that I try to deal with those. I experienced one of those obsessions when I discovered tarot and oracle, because everything that I loved came together in tarot and oracle decks. It was the art of the illustrators, it was the symbolism, the mythology, but also the mental health and personal growth aspect. And I completely fell in love with it and dove headfirst into that rabbit hole. And I collected a lot of decks in those first months, in my first year, and over the past few years. But I am now at a point where I'm very content with my collection. It doesn't mean I'm not bringing in any more decks, but it has significantly slowed down. I am truly at a place where I enjoy my current collection and where I use my current decks almost on a daily basis. And maybe I should have just left it at that. Maybe I should have been very content with everything I have and not dive into any new rabbit holes. But that is not what happened. I don't even know what exactly kickstarted it, but I am pretty sure it was my own thought saying, maybe I should invest in a more beautiful fountain pen and just take a look at what's out there. And that was the start of a very deep dive, and I think it started probably in July, where I really dove headfirst into that rabbit hole. Of course, I have loved journaling and stationery for so long already, so I guess it was almost an inevitable evolution to go into fountain pens. Now, I'm not going to bore you again with showing them all or anything. I will link my random ramblings about fountain pens down below in case you are interested in seeing all of my current pens and hearing some thoughts about collecting of pens and the things that I kind of envision for my fountain pen collection for the future. One thing that I have very clear for myself is that I don't want to start collecting pens left, right and center. I don't want to end up with a lot of cheaper pens just because I can buy them or just because they are available. I have a lovely base collection of pens that are reliable, that I love to write with. So I'm not interested at all in collecting a lot of pens. What intrigues me is trying to pinpoint what works best for me and what kind of pens by certain brands or makers really intrigue me and that I really love. So I've watched a gazillion videos on YouTube about pens. Every time my husband walks by when I'm watching something on my iPad or my phone, it's about pens. I'm just obsessed. And in a way, I'm also happy to report that I can satisfy a lot of that obsession by just watching content about it. So it doesn't all have to be satisfied by buying stuff. I just enjoy learning about it and watching what's out there. All of that being said, I did buy some new pens these past few months. There are 3 new pens in my collection that I can actually show you. And the first one I already showed in the fountain pen ramble I mentioned earlier. And that is the Esterbrook ST Botanical Garden. This was actually the first pen that I noticed online that really made me think, I really love that one. I would love to have that one in my hands. The thing with fountain pens is that there is even more FOMO than there is in the tarot and oracle deck world. And in my random ramblings, I mentioned price mostly. Being an issue, meaning fountain pens can be really expensive. I think this one retails for, let's say, 180 to 210 euros. That's kind of the price range that I saw it in. And that's for one pen. So the price is higher, but it also has a lot to do with limited editions. You also have limited editions when it comes to tarot and oracle decks. But creating a pen out of certain material is just a lot more work than printing, let's say, 1,000 decks or something. So even though some decks are limited edition or they are available for a short amount of time, there are even fewer fountain pens available in those cases. So the FOMO hit me immediately because this is kind of a core collection of Esterbrook. This one is just available as one of their editions. but there are also a lot of limited editions. And immediately when I decided to get an Esterbrook Estie, I was telling myself, but then you should get the limited edition because that's limited. And what if you decide to get that one in the future and it's sold out? So the smart thing to do would be to get one of the limited editions. But I decided to ignore that FOMO and focus on, the pen that really caught my eye and the pen that I kept going back to, the pen that I could also kind of connect to my own intentions, my own connection to nature, and something that I want to cultivate more of in my life. And that is why in the end I decided to get the Esterbrook Estie Botanical Garden. And I decided to get a fine nib with this one. With my handwriting, I don't really enjoy writing with broader pens, so I'm going for the fine nibs at the moment. And I really see the Esterbrook Estie Botanical Garden as kind of my first step into a new chapter of my fountain pen collection. Again, it is not my intention to collect a huge amount of pens, but I would like to own a few very special to me pens that I think are just very beautiful and a little bit less basic or practical than my current fountain pen collection. So that is the Esterbrook Estie Botanical Garden. Then I was ordering from a Dutch webshop that had a sale going on, and I decided to get a new TWSBI pen. And I decided to get the TWSBI Eco T in yellow. I'm not sure if yellow is the official title of this pen. If it's not, then I will put it on the screen. And this is actually my first TWSBI Eco. I have owned a TWSBI VAC Mini. That was my first TWSBI pen, which broke after about a year of use. Then I had a TWSBI Diamond Mini, a TWSBI Diamond 580, and a TWSBI Diamond 580 ALR. And that one I actually got with a fine nib, and I just cannot get used to the writing experience of that ALR TWSBI pen, so I have decided to sell that one and get this TWSBI Eco T. It also helped that this is a very affordable pen. I think I paid like 35 euros for this one. And I did decide to go for a 1.1 stub nib for this one. And it was a lot of fun just experiment with that one. It was also fun to just try out one of the different models that I wasn't familiar with yet. So that is the TWSBI Eco T. One of the other pens that caught my eye when I tumbled down the rabbit hole was the Pilot Elite 95S. As you can see, it's quite a small pen, especially when you compare it to the TWSBI, for example. But that's because it's a pocket pen. And as you can see, the pen itself is super small, but it's not designed to write with this way. It's designed to be like this. So the cap of the pen perfectly fits the body of the pen, and it just creates a full-size pen that is actually longer than the TWSBI. Now, where the TWSBI is quite a sturdy pen, the Pilot Elite 95S is quite a slender and light pen. The weight of it is really insignificant, but I really love the smooth grip section. And of course we have quite a lovely nib that is a 14 karat gold nib. Now, just as with the Esterbrook ST, it was quite a scary thing to decide on the nib size, especially for the Pilot Elite, because you cannot exchange the nibs. And again, I did a lot of research and looked at writing samples and reviews online to kind of try to determine if the lines would be too thin for me. And I am very happy to say that both with the Esterbrook ST and the Pilot Elite, I made the right decision to go for the fine nib. Both the Esterbrook ST and the Pilot Elite are very smooth writers. So I hope you enjoyed all of that chatting about journaling and fountain pens. I'm having a lot of fun with it at the moment and I could talk about it for hours. But for now, let's just leave it at this and move on to the decks that came into my collection in August and September. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I am very happy with my current collection of tarot and oracle decks. And I'm not really buying a lot at the moment. I did, however, receive a new Kickstarter and came across a deck that I had been looking for a long time. So let's take a look at those. And let's start with a Kickstarter that I received. Holly Audley is the creator of the Teeny Tiny Tarot and a number of mini Divi decks. I already owned 2 of her mini Divi decks, but when I noticed that she had put up a new Kickstarter for a few new editions of the mini Divis, I decided to back 2 of them. The Witching and the Lore decks. And as an add-on, you could also choose to order the Teeny Tiny Tarot. And since I didn't have that one yet in my collection, I decided to get that one as well. Let's take a look at the mini Divi decks first. I will be completely honest with you, these 2 tuck boxes are empty because they just seem to fall apart on me very quickly. So instead, I am storing the cards in this little cardboard box that I had lying around, but that proved to be a perfect fit for the mini Divi decks. So I have 4 decks in total. All the mini Divi decks have the same backs, so you could actually mix and match and create your own huge deck or smaller deck. I believe this is a deck based on dreams. And I will put the exact title of this one on the screen. I think this is kind of a cabinet of curiosities concept. But let's take a look at the 2 that I got from the latest Kickstarter. And those are the Witching and the Lore one. The Witching deck contains all these concepts regarding witches. And the lore one consists of all these different types of lore from around the world. And this Kickstarter also came with this wooden coin for simple yes or no questions. I don't really use coins like this myself in my practice, but I do love it as a lovely little collectible. And then we have the teeny tiny tarot. For this deck, the names of the suits have been changed. Pentacles are eyeballs, the swords are needles, the wands are sticks, and the cups are skulls. The Teeny Tiny Tarot is a lovely little deck. I love the illustration style, and even though it is quite simplistic in a way and maybe even a bit pippish, it's also clear that there definitely was a lot of thought put into the illustrations and meanings of the cards. And those are the Teeny Tiny Tarot and the mini divvies Witching and Lore. And the other deck that I got in the months of August and September is a deck that I wasn't expecting to get at all. And it's the Flow Tarot. Now, I've been seeing this deck around here on TarotTube for ages, and it has been on my wish list for a long time. But honestly, the only reason I didn't get the deck myself straight from the creator is because of the additional shipping costs and taxes, which was pretty much the same as the money spent on the deck. So I just put it on my wish list and left it there. And the only reason that I managed to get my hands on a copy right now is thanks to my good friend Sandy of Exploring Tarot here on YouTube. She knew that I had been eyeing this tarot deck for a long time. So when she saw it in a Facebook group for sale, she immediately contacted the seller. And the seller was fortunately willing to hold on to the deck for me. Sandy then contacted me and put me in contact with the seller, and I think it was not even 2 days later that this deck arrived. So I'm incredibly thankful to you, Sandy, for making this happen. And I'm also thankful to the seller who was willing to sell it for a very reasonable price. As the name suggests, the theme of the Flow Tarot is water in every shape and form. I like the fact that all the cards have keywords, and even though the suits were renamed, it is pretty easy to remember what's what, because every first letter of the new suit name corresponds with the traditional suit names. So Ponds is pentacles, Snow is swords, Waves is wands, and Clouds is cups. I don't have a lot of photography decks in my collection, and usually when it comes to using stock photography, I am also not really interested in those decks, but in this case, it's just such a beautiful collection of images. They fit each other so well. The colors are vibrant and the scenes are so diverse. The guidebook is also very extensive and well written. Like I said, every card has a keyword. Then there is a write-up on the meaning and interpretation. And there is a little affirmation at the bottom. So this was a lovely surprise deck in the months of August and September. And I'm so happy I was finally able to add the Flow Tarot to my collection. And that's the Flow Tarot. And that's it. Those were my favorite things from the months of August and September. I hope you enjoyed hearing me chat about all the things that gave me joy these past few months. Please feel free to let me know in the comments which things brought you joy in the months of August and September. I hope to be back soon with another video. But if you don't want to wait for that and would like to know what I'm up to a little bit more often, please feel free to find me on Instagram and connect with me there. I post a little bit more frequently there than I do here on YouTube. But like I said, I hope to be back soon with another video. And with all of that being said, I wish you all a lovely rest of your day or night. And I hope to see you next time. Bye!